What's up? It's Penuel, the Black Pen. One of the stories that's been trending this week is the fact that Amapungane have been investigating what's happening at Eskom with Petro SA. Now, there's a lot of secrecy around Petro SA, and as you guys know, we've been celebrating over 200 days of no load shedding. But what a lot of people are not aware of is the amount of diesel that constantly gets supplied to Eskom, with a lot of it peaking during the load shedding eras. Amapungane have been trying to investigate what's been happening at Eskom with Petro SA, but they are struggling. I honestly think that they are pretending to struggle because the information is kind of readily available for everyone. Back in the day when Cyril was basically roped back into politics by Jacob Zuma and the ANC, he promised that he'd put Shanduka into a blind trust. He never did that. What he did is he carried on with business to a point of gaslighting the nation, going on a platform and saying that running the country is just a part-time job. Yes, it was a joke, but the reality is we kind of know that the guy's about making money more than running the country. It's kind of evident. So Shanduka carries on running business, and some of its partners are, people would know, Glencore, which last year was fined over $1 billion for every other nation that they'd worked in, except for some weird reason, South Africa. Glencore's got a very cozy relationship with Shanduka, and one of the things that they do is they supply diesel to Petro SA, which then supplies that diesel onto Eskom. Glencore, in the last couple of years, signed a deal where they took over the old Caltex that you may know, and they've been rebranding it as Estron. So if you see Estron fuel, please know that that is Caltex, and it is owned by Glencore, which is in partnership with Shanduka. That's Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, supplying diesel to Eskom via Glencore. The second partner becomes Ipembani, which is run by a business associate of Cyril Ramaphosa known as Phuthuma Nhleko. Phuthuma's been doing business in mining for MTN as the chairman at some point. He was even involved in reducing the fine in Nigeria at some point and got a huge payout. At the time when Cyril said he'd put Shanduka into a blind trust, the idea was for Pembani to take over Shanduka until he leaves politics again. Again, this never happened. Instead, Pembani, which owns a huge stake in Engen, decided to partner with Shanduka again, and Engen is one of the suppliers of diesel to Petro SA, which supplies diesel to Eskom. I sat with Warwick Stock, popularly known as DJ Waras, on what was the Penuel show, now known as the Convo show, speaking about this issue, speaking about the fact that so many people are not aware of some of these things that are happening and the conflicts of interest. Cyril, when he came in as a deputy president, was in charge of the war room at Eskom, which was meant to help with load shedding, with lowering costs, with looking at things like evergreen contracts. He never did that. At the same time, he was supplying coal to Eskom with Glencore again, with Shanduka. This guy supplies coal to Eskom at a premium. It's been said before, Brian Malife, who was one of the ex-heads of Eskom, Matsila Koko was one of the ex-heads of Eskom, and many others have said that Glencore provides coal at a premium to Eskom, but this was never raised when Cyril was in charge of the war room. Now, you're making money when we have electricity. You're making money when you have to supply diesel, when we don't have electricity. And at the same time, you're meant to be the president of the country, making sure that everyone's getting a fair deal. If that doesn't make things worse, then the fact that his brother-in-law, Patrice Motsepe, has gotten a bulk of the independent power producer, IPP licenses, is another thing that needs to be investigated as well. Now with Andre de Ruyter gone as CEO of Eskom, we don't know what's going to be happening with the IPP deals. These deals, these licenses were also dished by another brother-in-law of Cyril, being Jeff Radebe, who was a minister in the presidency at the time. Will Amapungane actually have the balls to follow up and actually investigate this thing or not? I see that they're trying to cast the light on Gwede Mantashe. Gwede is not the most innocent guy because there have been a lot of scandals and things raised around mining licenses and the backlogs in South Africa, as is the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy. We have lost to death, unfortunately, Pravin Gordhan. We have lost to death, unfortunately, ex-minister Tito Mboweni. But it seems there's still a lot of people running this country the way that they want. Jacob Zuma was accused of 9 wasted years and of state capture. Sadly, the Zondo Commission on state capture never found him guilty. If anything, they had him arrested for contempt of court, which many people, including Floyd Shibambu recently, who's just joined the MK from EFF, have said was nothing but a political game for them. Jacob was accused of state capture. When Brian Molefe went to the State Capture Commission, when Matsila Koko went there, when Lucky Montana of Transnet went there, they raised the issues around the conflicts of interest of Cyril Ramaphosa and his business associates. Raymond Zondo said that that was not within the scope of the investigations, and it was never followed up. What would follow from there is all the reports that he gave from the commission and being gifted the chief justice position by the same president, Cyril Ramaphosa, that was implicated in the same Zondo commission. Jacob Zuma, of course, today is now leading Umkhonto Wesizwe, building a opposition which might become a force in years to come. We don't know. But the real state capture remains the incumbents that were running this country during apartheid, the incumbents that were running this country during colonial periods, and that seemed to have gotten their golden boy, Cyril Ramaphosa, to come and run the country and ensure that no new players come in. The Guptas were apparently caught, but Ronald Lamula, Minister of Justice, failed to extradite them and bring them to South Africa for questioning. Even then, it would still be questioning because they have not been found guilty of any wrongdoing. This is now not me defending the Guptas. I don't think they are innocent by a stretch of the imagination. This is not me defending ex-President Jacob Zuma or all the other people that I've mentioned, Brian Molefe, Matsila Koko, Lucky Montana. In various ways, all of these people are looking out for their own interests. It's me highlighting the hypocrisies that have been raised by Cyril Ramaphosa, his faction within the ANC, versus what is known as the Radical Economic Transformation faction in the ANC, which has spat out Jacob Zuma, Ace Magashula, and so many others as well. I really hope that more South Africans will begin seeing what this country is that we live in. It's a mafia state. And now that the ANC is in bed with the Democratic Alliance of John Steenhuisen and Helen Zille, who have gone on record to say that they will not pursue the Phala Phala issue where there was foreign currency found that was not declared. Now they are quiet on this issue as well because, again, they are golden boys at the helm. And all the major business people that work with Cyril and some of his funders are quiet. For those that may not know, Johan Rupert through Remgro, the company that owns most of his assets in South Africa, is in partnership with the same company that I mentioned earlier, being Ipembani of Phuthuma Nhleko. They've got a property fund. So you can see how these companies are linked. Johan Rupert, again through Remgro, is one of the beneficiaries of the IPP licenses issued by Jeff Radebe, of which he refused, of which we always cry for transparency. He refused to expose who are all the people that receive licenses. And the story of Tokyo Sehwale and the Turkish car power ship that was meant to take billions of rands out of this country, that disappeared. And no one's followed up on those investigations as well. I look forward to Amapungane's case. I'm not hopeful, but some of us that are on alternative media are here not to come up with theories that we're sucking out of thin air. These are things that you can research yourself. You go and look at Pembani's history as a BEE company. You look at the work they've done with Shanduga of Cyril Ramaphosa. You look at the work they've done with Johan Rupert. You look at some of the businesses that are connected. You look at who some of the suppliers of coal to Eskom are. This is stuff that you can find on Google. You look at some of the people that supply fuel/diesel to Eskom, and you can see how all of this is linked. And then you have to ask yourself the question, who really is capturing the state?
The thoughts and views expressed on this podcast are not necessarily those of Podcast Party. But here at Podcast Party, we encourage open dialogue and critical thinking, where great minds don't all think alike. Join the party. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.